We in these streets. My shit was kind of slow, bro. I don't know what was happening at all. I had to
Okay,
go
it
back.
just wasn't me then. It wasn't me. I'm
Yeah.
saying like, do I talk or
Yeah, like the
what
first
do I do?
30 seconds or 40 seconds, man. My computer was nice and slow. Sorry about that, y'all. Y'all know what it is. Three Kings Boxing, man. We back on. Shout out to my man Bo right there to the left, and it's your boy 2K to the right, man. We back on here again, as we said, as promised. We about to do this again. Of course, we want to talk about Errol Spence, man. That's going to be a big topic. There's a
It
video
really
that's
is, man.
floating around, yeah, about his neurological, possibility of neurological issues that could have contributed to why he looked a certain way in his fight against Terence Crawford. We're going to take both sides and kind of give you an idea of, is this an excuse or is it real? But y'all already know how we like to do it, man. We like to put that seasoning salt on these shows, man. So we're going to start off with a fantasy matchup. Light heavyweight. You got Mike, the Jinx Spinks, who is considered, along with Archie Moore, as one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, versus Roy Jones Jr., former undisputed king at light heavyweight. Now, this is a good one. This might hurt a couple motherfuckers, man, when you
I
actually
know what
break
I'm
this
gonna say
down.
gonna hurt motherfuckers.
Let them know, Bo, what you got, man.
All right, man. First off, man, let's just say this right here, right? People have to recognize certain things. Now, there was two versions of Roy Jones at light heavyweight. Then there was two versions of Michael Spinks at light heavyweight before he actually moved up. Young Roy Jones at light heavyweight. Although you can look at that division, you can say, hey, man, he didn't have, what's in, Telesco and Otis Grant and all these guys he was fighting, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have any top level dudes of his kind during his era at light heavyweight. The most mysterious thing I thought Roy Jones ever did was when he left super middleweight, when he was just about to get hot to move to light heavyweight.
Oh, hold on, Bo. He beat Mike McCallum at 175.
Are you serious? Really?
Wait, the body snatcher.
The best in the 70s versus the best in the 80s when that nigga and they fought in the 90s. That Mike McCallum, that nigga, that was
That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up, man. Yeah, he was, he was like 43-1 or 2 or something like that at the time. Yeah, he was up there, but it's still Mike, dog.
Man, that Mike McCallum still mad that Sugar Ray and Hagler and all them niggas left him out the party. He was still mad about that, man.
Probably.
But the thing is, you have to understand is what you're looking at in this matchup right here, right? Everybody's going, oh man, Roy Jones with the fast hands, man, with the twitching and the clicking and all of that, man. You can't overlook what you saw in the second half of light heavyweight at Roy Jones. Now, granted, it's when he came down from heavyweight, but you started seeing slippage in Roy Jones and his reflexes. You started seeing slippage in Roy Jones and a lot of things prior to him even going to fight John Ruiz, then coming back down. You look at Michael Spinks, Jinx Spinks. Early Michael Spinks, that dude was something else, man. Young Michael Spinks, that jab. Michael Spinks surprisingly had good footwork. It was shocking, man. He could twist and turn you around. He was a prolific body puncher, and his counter punching ability, he can close the gap real quick with that jab and then hit you with that right hand, and he could fight on the inside, man. Then you had Michael Spinks as he started getting older. He started relying, footwork wasn't there. He started relying more on his jab and more on his combination punches. But he was a crafty dude. So you can tell his skill set, even though he got older, never diminished like Roy Jones' skill set. When I look at this matchup, I know what we're gonna say. We're gonna say prime for prime. That's what we're gonna say. But prime for prime, when I look at this matchup, I like Michael Spinks because what we found out was in the second half of Roy Jones, is part of his career light heavyweight, was if you touch that chin, he had some durability issues, and that was because his reflex was slowing down. Now, would he struggle against Roy Jones? I think in the beginning he would, but here's the thing about when a person, and I'll say this all the time, when one guy in boxing is exceptionally good, like he had fast hands or fast reflexes, they're always lacking in one thing. Roy Jones lacked the basics. That was the one thing Roy Jones lacks. Michael Spinks was good at the basics because even though he got older, his basics was still there, which was the jab and everything else. So I like Michael Spinks in this. I think he would struggle a little bit, but I think that jab of his and that combination punches of his would kind of get to Roy a little bit. And I think he would win 8-4, 7-5.
It's a good one, man. Christopher Walker said, I'm taking Roy next. Oh, man, like, fuck that. Nobody beating Roy Jones. Hey, I used to feel that same way, Christopher. Shout out to my man, where is he at? NB 2.0. He said, was he undisputed or did he not grab that belt off of Darius Mikushevsky? Let me tell you something, man. NB 2.0. You got to know your history, big dog. The WBO was not considered a major title until February 2007. That's when the IBF, the last remaining of the top 3 major organizations, recognized the WBO, and that's when it became the 4th large or major organization. February 2007. Correct. So Roy Jones was undisputed at light heavyweight without having the WBO title. Back then, the WBO was considered the IBO, basically. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So, yeah, Mr. Roy Jones was undisputed. All right, man, let me do this shit real quick. Do it the right way, even though I agree with Bout. Listen, man, I told you it's going to hurt cats. Yeah. Listen, the Jinx, man, when he was at heavyweight, and I think a lot of people remember Michael Spinks as that scared-ass motherfucker that was shivering and quivering whenever he was across the ring against Mike Tyson at heavyweight, right? Yeah, man. That's what I think a lot of people remember. But we're talking about the Jinx. The reason why he got his name, right, was at light heavyweight when he was dogging guys like Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and Dwight Muhammad Quaid, right, who was in that very popular or famous fight with Evander Holyfield for undisputed at cruiserweight, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you know, the Jinx was one of the best light heavyweights of all time. He was dominating down there. The Jinx only lost to Mike Tyson, guys. He was undefeated his whole career. His only loss was to Mike Tyson, and he retired. He should have lost to Larry Holmes in the first fight, but y'all know what that was, that whole 49-0 situation. They didn't want Larry Holmes surpassing Rocky Marciano, so they gave the fight to Michael Spinks.
I got to agree with that one.
But anyway, I digress. He lost one time in his career. The Michael Spinks at heavyweight, the ones most people remember, is the one that was fighting Jerry Cooney and Larry Holmes, nigga, flat-footed and shit. Jab, jab was all right. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't what he was at light heavyweight, where he's bouncing on his toes. He's using the jab. He's getting inside other people's jabs. Once he gets inside, he's got that dominant ass left uppercut, followed by that overhand right hook. That was putting niggas to sleep. That uppercut, he used to double up on that bitch on the inside. Bloop, bloop, stomach, chin. He was a beast on the inside with that fucking uppercut, man. I'm sorry. Y'all know, dog, my favorite fighter back in the 90s, never missed a fight, was Roy Jones Jr. But when Roy Jones Jr. was that dude, that unstoppable force, that was down there at 160, 168. He even had fights at 154, fought a couple bums within the 154 limit. But that's when he was unstoppable. That's when he made Vinny Pazienza look stupid. And shout out to my man Lord Zoe. That's when he made your boy James Toney look like shit. Right? That was at 168. That was the Roy Jones that was unstoppable and ridiculous. At 175, he did look good when he got there. Right? Yeah, he did. Look good when he got there. But I agree with Bo 100%. He started to slow down a little bit, particularly when he got to Eric Harding. Eric Harding was giving him work a little bit behind that jab. Roy Jones didn't like Eric Harding's jab and his footwork and his defensive prowess. He was good defensively. Took him 10 rounds. I think 10 rounds. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. But it took him a little bit of time before he could actually get to Eric Harding and eventually knock him out. But that fight was ugly for Roy Jones, man. Michael Spinks was a much better fighter than Eric Harding, and he was a better fighter at 175 than Antonio Tarver, guys. Antonio Tarver had a basic 1-2. That's all he had. He had pretty decent defense, basic 1-2. His basic Antonio, man. And that jab and that 1-2 literally beat Roy Jones, bro. 3 times, in my opinion, officially twice. Right now, some people are like, "Oh man, it was the weight. He came down from heavyweight, and then 6 months later, he fought Antonio Tarver." Yeah, that was the first fight, the one he won. The second and third fight, he had full training camps to get himself reacclimated at 175. He was good for the second and third fight. The second fight got knocked the fuck out in 2 rounds because he couldn't get around the 1-2. And the third fight, you know what I'm saying, he got beat over 12 rounds. And exactly, Laws, I agree with you 100%. Montel Griffin was out boxing him in that first fight before Roy got disqualified. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, why you gotta add that on?
I gotta add it on there, dog.
Why you gotta add that on?
Before that nigga, because listen, the reason why Roy got disqualified is because he was like me. I'm sitting there on my grandma's couch watching the fight on HBO, mad than a motherfucker, wondering why Roy having trouble with this ugly nigga from Chicago. I'm pissed.
You
right?
Right.
And then Roy felt me being mad and was mad in the fight and hit the nigga while he was down on his knees. Now I seen Gennady Golovkin do the same thing, right?
Yeah, he
they
did.
didn't disqualify him for that. But I digress, right? He still got DQ'd. But the point is, these guys who are much less light heavyweight types of fighters than Michael Spinks were giving Roy Jones trouble at 175, dog.
Really?
Michael Spinks behind that jab, once he got in, he would set up that straight right hand that would concuss a nigga. Then he was an excellent finisher after that. Almost everybody was going out after that, dog. Man, I got Michael Spinks. Bo, by knockout.
Woo! I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yep. Michael Spinks by knockout, 175, man. Sorry, Roy.
It's just funny when you said that nigga uppercut was ugly. It was like, yeah, it was like his face.
Hell yeah, yeah. Him and his uppercut looked exactly the same. Michael Spinks looked like he'd been uppercutted out the womb and shit. They couldn't get the nigga out and shit. The doctor uppercutted that nigga, he came out. But boy, was he a bad motherfucker at 175. At heavyweight, I didn't like Michael Spinks at heavyweight. Like I said, he was flat-footed and shit. He was slow.
Slow, lethargic. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but at 175, yeah, yo, he was a bad dude. Y'all need to go watch tape.
I'm telling you. That's why I wanted to make everybody clear. There was 2 Michael Spinks. The young Michael Spinks, that mother was a bad dude.
Yes,
he was a bad dude, man. So yeah, man, that's what that is right there, man. So Roy, Roy gets knocked out by, you know what? Fuck it. I go along with you, man. Roy gets knocked out.
Yeah, he does. He does, man.
All right, man. That's what's up, man. Speaking of you know, knockouts and everything like that, man. So you got Jermall Charlo out there, you know, after Caleb Plant, you know, slapped him.
Bitch.
Yeah, after Caleb Plant slapped him. He's like, I think I'm ready to come back to the sport.
Caleb said, bitch, where's my money?
Right.
Y'all play Grand Theft Auto 4, Busta Rhymes joint on there. Bitch, where my fucking money? That's exactly what he did, bro.
What he did.
Fucked up, man. Y'all wrong for that.
Hey, man, yo, man, you don't let yourself listen. If you out here portraying yourself to be a tough dude and all that, slapping phones at motherfuckers' hands, you can't let no motherfucker.
Yeah, you can't let somebody smack you up, dog, and then you just stand there with your hands up. But it is what it is, man.
Right.
Jermall, the Charlos are fake tough guys. Everybody knows that, man. If you don't know it, then welcome to the party. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing new, man.
But he's talking about something. He'll be ready to come back by the end of the year. My thing is, should we trust that? Listen, we all know he's been having, you know, he's been going through having some little issues, mental issues, whatever the case may be. He's talking about coming back by the end of the year. I don't know, man. I'm just being honest with you, man. I truly don't know if we should believe what he's saying. And if he comes back, we already know he's going to have a super light touch. He's not coming back to fight, you know, somebody, you know, within, you know, making unification. No, he's not coming back for that. He's going to come back with a super light touch. In my all honest opinion, man, I'll just be honest with you, man. You let yourself, the way he got slapped and then didn't do nothing. I needed to see some hunger. Like, even if you didn't get the plant, you should have been like, nah, I'll fuck you up. It should have been, I just saw no aggression. So I'm like, how am I supposed to believe you're not going to come, you're coming back if you let this dude hit you, man, and just pretty much just get away with it? You just chill like that? I mean, no, man, I don't know.
But what was he supposed to do, though, Bo? Like, you know what I'm saying? Plant smacked him, right? Mm-hmm. And then what was he supposed to do? Charge him and knock him out? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And get put.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
When Plant did this, it's
Yeah, before he got to him. Yeah,
Yep.
because Plant kind of wind that up a little bit. You know what I'm
Yes, he did.
saying? As a fighter, he should have been able to see that coming. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's the image, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's not the fact that he should have went up there and knocked him out and beat the hell out of him and all that and shit. It's not about that. It's the fact that Charlo keeps this persona that he's this tough dude, right?
Right.
Like he's always getting into shit at boxing matches with dudes. He's getting in Jared Hurd's face. He's getting in David Benavidez's face, right? He's always doing shit like that. But then when it got down to it, you know what I'm saying, and somebody actually put hands on him, he wasn't about shit, right? Same thing with Daniel Jacobs. He talking shit about
Mhm.
Daniel Jacobs, and Jacobs walks by, and then he's quiet. You see what I'm saying? It's the persona. If you want to portray that you're some sort of tough guy, nobody can fuck with you, then there's gonna be times where your hand is gonna be called for. They're gonna be like, hey, call this nigga Bluff real quick, man. Let's see what he about. Right? And
Yep.
that's what happened here. And you saw what he's really about when shit hits the fan. That's why I think Charlo should have beat his ass. But he's not really like that. And I'm going to go on to say that I didn't like this is in terms of Charlo the fighter. I don't like that.
Mm.
I don't like that. Number one,
I agree with that.
he should have saw the slap coming, didn't defend himself.
That's a good point.
That's number one. And then number two, is his mental problems really a problem? Right? I see he's still with the chick that was fucking with him, right?
Right.
So that didn't go anywhere. He went right back to the problem. So is he really ready to get back in the ring? What do you think about that, man?
I don't know. I don't believe so because if you're ready to get back in the ring, man, that situation should have just went full blown. Like, man, it's a tough thing, right? Because and I get this all the time. People always say you're so insensitive to mental stress and duress. Yeah, all right, man, fuck you and kiss my ass. And here's why I'm gonna tell you that, man. Because as a man, you have to protect your manhood, and part of protecting your manhood
Yep.
is not letting somebody put hands on you. Part of
Yep.
protecting your manhood is not letting somebody put hands on. I ain't saying you got to be overly aggressive. I ain't saying you got to be, ready to thump and fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying you got to be ready to defend your manhood. And part of that is not letting nobody put hands on you. And when he got slapped, and his response wasn't to go back at Plant, he just stood there like, "What you have to do that for, bro? Bro,
Hey
what you have
man,
to do
come
that
on,
for?"
man, why you smack me, man?
Yeah, like people was pushing Plant back to get at him instead of like nobody was even pushing him back. He was just standing there like, "Come on, man!" Like they trying to get Plant off of him. No, man, I didn't like that, and that doesn't tell me you're ready to come back because there has to be a fire in you. As a fighter,
Exactly.
there has to be a fire at all fucking times. And when that fire is not there, think about when you go to fights. You'll see fighters. David Benavidez walks around ready to go. David Morrell, they'll laugh and joke, but they walk around ready to go.
Right.
There's a fight. Them niggas walk around. You say the wrong thing, but what?
Right.
Huh? Like they ready
Right.
to go,
They're
right?
ready to go.
They
Right.
ready to go, man. He did. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to go. He didn't have that fire in him. I don't believe this dude is ready to come back.
Yeah, if he comes back, man, it got to be against some beta male nigga like Mike Lee or something like that. You know what I'm saying? He'll beat him. You know what I'm saying? It got to be somebody like that. Jose Uzcategui, somebody like that, bro. And then maybe he got a shot. Romer Angulo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody like that, he got a shot. What's that boy name? Damon Nicholson. That
Demond Nicholson.
swear he hard, always losing fights. Damon Nicholson. He get hit. He's like 23-4 or something like that with
Yeah,
22 knockouts, something like
yeah,
that. He
yeah.
get hit,
Yes,
but
he
if he hits you and it don't do nothing, man, he lost.
did.
That's pretty much what that is, man. If he hits you and it didn't do nothing, he lost. You don't even really got to do nothing after that.
Right.
My man goes step out the ring and shit, right? He step out the ring. Fuck it. I didn't knock this nigga out. I lost. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But those are
Oh,
dudes
man.
he should be trying to fight to get himself back up, man. But this is it's a tall tale sign of him probably not being ready to come back, man. So he's got a lot of work to do, man.
Great.
All right, man. We're gonna move on to the next one. Shout out to Devin Haney, man, who's coming back for another tough one, man. Now, a lot of cats talk a lot of shit about Devin Haney. And shout out to my man Blake, Three Kings Boxing's own. my man he be going in on Devin Haney. Me and him was arguing about Devin Haney, and then finally he said, "Man, fuck Devin Haney." Right?
There it is, right there. There it was, right there when he said,
right?
He
And
said that. I was like, there it is.
His thing is he doesn't think Devin Haney has shown, given his resume, to be an elite level fighter. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, my thing is this: Devin Haney, in my opinion, has never shown that he wants to duck anyone in and around his division. Agreed. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the Shakur Stevenson situation and him retaining the belts, going up to 140 to fight Regis Prograis. We're going to talk about that, and you may change your mind about that statement I just made. But at the end of the day, from what I'm seeing from Devin Haney, he's always wanted to smoke, man. He's called out every T.O. Tank, right? He has called out Shakur Stevenson, right? He wanted T.O., but instead T.O. fought George Kambosos, who at the time was an IBF mandatory. But he could have thrown some step-aside money at old dude and got, Devin Haney to become a real undisputed champion, not a fake one. You know what I'm saying?
Very much so.
And he didn't do it. He chose not to do it, and instead lost all his titles to George Kambosos. Devin Haney immediately jumped up and said, "Hey, I'll go to Australia and fight him twice."
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Even though I won the first fight, I still got to adhere to his demands for the second fight. I'm sorry, man. You got to give Devin Haney his credit at that point, right? It doesn't matter that it was George Kambosos and that you thought Kambosos really wasn't a good fighter, because at the end of the day, Kambosos did come over to New York and beat Teofimo Lopez in New York. So at the end of the day, he was a bona fide champion, and Devin Haney went to the bona fide champion's home country and whooped his ass twice. You got to give him credit for that. Then you got to give him credit for moving up to 140 to not take on Arnold Barboza, a broken Jose Zepeda. He didn't try to take on Josue Vargas, right? Yeah. None of that. No. He said, "Give me the champ." And probably, if you look at the belt holders, he's likely the best champion there, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he said, "Give me one of the top champions at 140, the most popular, Regis Prograis." You got to give him credit for that, man. Now, here's where my other statement might get contradicted. But he did mention Shakur's on his ass and been on his ass for a while now. Yeah, Shakur's was on the WBC. "Hey, man, mandate this motherfucking fight so I can get this belt," right? Devin Haney said live, right, on the it was Spence Crawford fight. I think it was Spence Crawford. I believe it was one of the fights. It might have been Sinisa Estrada. Can't remember.
It was Sinisa Estrada.
Was it Estrada? Okay.
Yeah,
so he said on that fight, right, that it's his time to choose what he wants to do. Other fighters got the opportunity to choose what they want to do. It's my time. I'm the undisputed champion. I get to choose what I want to do. And what I'm choosing is go up to 140, and I'm going to fight Regis for his belt, right? And then I might just keep the belts. Just hold on to them, because I might just come back down to 135. That's where I'm like, Devin, that's some hoe shit, dog. Because if you're going to 140, then go to 140, dog.
Right.
If you're gonna fight Shakur Stevenson, then fight Shakur Stevenson. Don't put nobody in limbo with the belts. Don't hoard the belts at 135 and decide to make a decision if you win or lose to Regis Prograis, what the decision is gonna be. That's what he's essentially doing. If I lose to Regis, I might go back to 135 and defend my undisputed titles. If I win, then I might stay at 140 and look for Teofimo Lopez. That's what he's trying to do without saying that. I don't like that, man. What do you think about it, man?
Basically, he's trying to do what Floyd was doing when he was holding up 154.
Right. Laura and Andre were pissed off, weren't they? Arizona, Laura and Andre, like, man, dog, give up the belts or something, man.
Yo, Floyd.
Right. Exactly.
That's what he's trying to do. Here's my problem with it. And part of me believes Devin Haney is also being petty. He's being petty because he knows Shakur Stevenson is right there in line, and because Shakur has been talking shit, he wants to show him, "Hey, bro, you got to wait your turn, and I got power here." And that's and he's being petty. In my honest opinion, he's being petty with that, because the reality is Devin Haney himself has said it has been hard for him to stay there. Even going into the Loma fight, he said, "I'm staying here because I signed on to fight Loma, but let's not, let's keep it a buck. It's been hard for me to make 135. His father has even said, Devin Haney can't make 135 no more. We're going to 140. So the fact that he's talking about, well, let me do this fight. I'm going to hold all the belts. And after I win, let me see what I want to do because I might come back down to 135. Now, Devin's being petty because Devin know he can't make 135. He already knows that. If Devin Haney beats Regis Prograis, what's the point of him being down there at holding on to 135 for what? You didn't beat everybody down there, right? So in my honest opinion, man, Devin should go ahead and drop all the belts. But also, and I hate to say this, it's a good business. It's a good move. I hate it, but it's a good move.
Business wise, yeah. See, my opinion was coming from a fan of boxing, right?
Exactly.
Business wise, this is a good move. I agree with you, bro.
Yeah, and that's what I hate about it is it's a good move. You can't really argue it. Hell, we just saw Ray Vargas do that. Ray Vargas, Figueroa and fucking Mag Messiah was going to fight for the vacant title, and when Ray Vargas lost to Shaki Foster, hold on, wait a minute,
Wait a minute, let me keep that belt. Didn't think that was gonna happen. Shit.
Don't mail that. Bring it back in here.
Exactly.
That's what he did. So that's all Devin is doing, and also 100%, I believe he's being petty also by doing it because it's Shakur, because it's the WBC that's talking about something you got to drop the bet. I think he's being petty because of that Shakur Stevens situation.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, I agree with you 100% that it's a good business move, but at the end of the day, man, I just don't like him hoarding the belts because you got a bunch of other challengers. Shakur definitely, man. They're trying to get position to fight for the title. If you're not going to give them position, then just relinquish the title and let them battle it out. And it would be Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney when it comes to the Vasyl Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson when it comes to the WBC title, right? So relinquish the belts and let them battle it out, man. You know what I'm saying? But like I said again, good business move, bro.
Very good business move, man. All right, and so look it up next, right? A lot of you guys already know what happened over the weekend. We saw Errol Spence just pretty much get dominated, right? The thing.
I mean, is that? I mean, is that an understatement? I mean, this nigga got obliterated. Shout out to Spence, shout out to Crawford for making this fight. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I'm sorry, dog. You can't talk the shit you talk and then get your ass drugged. I don't give a fuck who it is. I'm not. I mean, look, I respect that the fight took place. I respect both fighters that they actually fought each other. At the same time, this shit should be happening in boxing. So that respect ain't that goddamn high. This is boxing. You should be fighting the like in any other sport, right? You don't get a finals with two whack teams. You get a finals with two of the best teams in the playoffs, right? Like team one doesn't say, you know what? No, that other team over there, them niggas too good, bro. I'm not playing them in the finals. Nope, I'm not doing that. Nope. You know what I'm saying? Right. Hell, an individual sport like tennis, you got the two best people in the tournament playing each other.
Exactly.
When the finals come up, one of the damn tennis players ain't like, you know what, that nigga, I saw how good he was in the semifinals. No, I'm not gonna fight him. Yep. So boxing should be the same goddamn way.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, while I respect that they had this fight, the fight should have took place any goddamn way.
Most definitely.
But you can't talk that shit and get drugged. You can't do it, man.
No, you can't. And then there's backlash when it happens. And one person that's taking backlash from it heavy is Derrick James. Derrick James is taking serious backlash, man. You got Antonio Tarver, you got other people. They out there saying Derrick James was giving him the right instruction. Derrick James wasn't telling him what to do. Some people's even questioning, hey, man, how and why did this dude win Trainer of the Year, right? And, it's funny because when a fighter loses, it's crazy how that blame gets thrown around on everybody. I often question, is it fair to criticize the entire team? Because I remember watching Timothy Bradley when he fought Ruslan Provodnikov. And I remember Joel Diaz telling Bradley what to do. Bradley was just, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do. And then fired Joel Diaz for what reason? He was telling you what not to do. You weren't listening to him. Right. And that does happens a lot, right? In this situation, though, man, and I'm sorry, but if your fighter goes out there and gives the performance, when you have the persona that Errol Spence had, Okay, he was the boogeyman. He was the dude that nobody was trying to fight. Right, he was leaving bodies in his wake. You know, Errol Spence go to the ring, walk out, bodies is being left in his wake. Well,
Yeah.
when you do that, then you have a guy with that type of prestige and mystique on him. Then you have that type of talk that they was doing, and you go out there and you get beat. Yeah, you're gonna come under attack because everybody's gonna be like, "Hey, man, was y'all prepared for that? Like, was y'all really prepared for that?" And that's what it looked like, man. It's fair to attack him. It's fair to attack him. Not trying to say that he never should have got trainer of the year and all that. No, that's not fair because at that time, yeah, when you look at the guys he was training, what they was doing, Charlo wound up becoming undisputed. Earl was collecting belts. So you can't just simply sit back and ignore that. But also at the same time, the criticism is fair and the criticism is warranted because what we saw, we can't unsee. Like we saw, like and props to my man, Prodigy, because he always gets on me about this. Nigga got to give Errol Spence a mercy round. Just so it ain't a blowout. Like I'm talking about me, right?
I'm see, look. I'm gonna go back to my man Beast LFC's comment real quick in a minute, but I'm like Lazo. Lazo said, I'm not even sure I gave Spence one round after watching it again. Hey, Lazo, you know how I operate, nigga. I score live, bro. I don't score again after watching it 15 times. I score one time and that's live. I didn't give Spence the first round live. I thought Crawford's jab was the beginning of the end in the second half of that round. So I had Crawford up 8-0.
Yeah.
Let me get this real quick. Shout to my man Beast LFC, put 5 on it. He said, "We in these streets." What about Canelo? Would it be realistic if Crawford would be one of Canelo's opponents? No, because Crawford already mentioned that he will not go to 168. I don't think Canelo goes back down to 160 at any point in his career. Crawford said he would max out at 160, and then that will be it for him. And he's saying that like maybe. It's not even a guarantee that he goes to 160. It's if there's a fight that entices him, he may go there. But at the end of the day, he's saying 160 is where it's at. And then after that, he's done. Canelo does not go back to 160. So I don't think that fight ever happens, man. Go ahead, Bo.
Right. No, I was just saying, man. So at the end of the day, man, as the trainer, because again, you supposed to prepare, you supposed to have a contingency plan for the contingency plan for the contingency plan when you go into the ring against a fight like Terence Crawford. And it just did from the performance we saw from Earl. Now we'll get into other things later on, but from that performance we saw from Earl, it just didn't seem like they had a contingency plan. It seemed like they thought, hey, we can go in there, do what we normally do to everybody else, bust this dude up, and go home. And that's why he's coming under fire, man. My thoughts to you is, what do you think about that? Do you think it's fair for Derrick James to come under the criticism he's coming under?
Well, the only thing, I mean, my man Second Ezra, and I trust his judgment because Second Ezra knows boxing. He said Derrick James gave good instructions. I said it before. I needed to go back and listen again. So I'm going to hold criticism from me personally. I'm going to put that shit on hold. And I'm going to come back on another show and let y'all know. I watched it again. I heard Derrick James say this, or I ain't hear shit from Derrick James. I'm cool with Derrick James, but y'all niggas know, man, 2K don't take sides, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell it how it is. Spade is a fucking spade. So, but only thing I heard, and half of me is scoring the fight, the other half is enjoying the fight, right? The only thing I heard from Derrick James was, you got to make them feel you. That's not enough. When Errol Spence is getting shit, Errol Spence is feeling Terence Crawford all over the place. No homo, right? Jab, straight right hand, jab to the body, hook to the body, stepping around him, counter punch, head to the temple. I mean, shot to the temple. I mean, he's beating the shit out of this nigga in every facet. You want to fight at mid-range? I win. Fight at long range? I win. Get on the inside and muscle each other up? I win. Angles? I win. Foot placement? I win. Jab? I win. What the fuck? And your instruction is you got to let them feel you. Like I said, I'm gonna wait until I listen to this shit again.
Right.
But I don't recall Derrick James saying anything of note in terms of giving Spence a plan B. Remember, guys, if you watched the prediction video that we made where me and Bo are live on the Las Vegas Strip in front of the Mirage, I told you guys, I said Terence Crawford is going to make Errol Spence a one-dimensional fighter. I said this. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't see any instructions from Derrick James on the first go-round trying to keep him from being one-dimensional. I saw Errol Spence in desperation mode. And in him being in desperation mode, he made himself even more open to be countered with hard ass shots. That's why he kept getting knocked down, right? Twice in the twice in the fifth, once in the second or third, and then once in the seventh or eighth or ninth, whatever the fuck it don't even matter. Nigga went down 4 times. You know what I'm saying? This is why he kept getting knocked down, because he's getting more desperate and desperate. So at the end of the day, man, with me seeing Spence go out there and execute the same game plan that's not working for him, I'm not sure he got the right instructions, bro. But let me say this. From a perspective of people who are watching the fight, the reason why Derrick James would be getting criticism is because of the same reason Bomac is getting all this praise.
Very good point.
Your trainer gets looked at as the #1 strategizer, right, for the fighter. So if the fighter goes out there and looks fucking excellent, yes, we say, damn, that motherfucker was a beast. But that trainer, dog, right, because you're supposed to be getting all the strategy from your trainer.
Correct.
So the reverse happens the same way. If your fighter goes out there and looks like complete manure and fertilizer, nigga, right? And then and it's not what where you set up, Bo.
You always say shit to break my face, man.
I'm just saying, bro. And it's not used to what we're, it's not used to what we're seeing from that fighter. Then we look at the fighter and say, damn, he looked like shit. And then we look at the trainer. What the fuck was he telling him? Right?
Right.
So that's why Derrick James is getting the criticism. If you get all the praise as a trainer, you got to get all the criticism as a trainer as well, bro.
Yep.
This is part of the game.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, and this is 2 fights in a row, guys. It's not just Errol. Frank Martin happened right before this.
That's a very good point.
So you got to understand, he's got 2 fighters in a row that have looked magnificent, but in their recent fights looked very bad.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So Derrick
Martin's
James
fight was nowhere near on the scale that this fight was.
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, we didn't even have to note that. We didn't have to note that. Shit, Frank Martin's a B-level fighter. The dude had Harut Yen, whatever his name is. That dude's a D- level fighter, man.
Right.
I know the guru might have disagreed with me, but that dude was a D-level fighter, man. I give him a D. You know what I'm saying? Because he allowed Frank Martin to run him over for the last 4 fucking rounds. He's a D.
Yeah.
You're winning the fight, and then you allow Frank Martin to run you over for the last 4 rounds, and then you end up losing because of that. He's a D-level fighter, right? So at the end of the day, bro, he's got to take the criticism in the same boat as which he took the praise of getting Trainer of the Year 2 years in a row. You see what I'm saying? So that's where this shit is coming from, man. Bo talked to Derrick. Derrick said, I can take it. Hopefully he can, but he's going to have to take his fighter back, right? And they're going to have to make some major change-ups. The first one, second Ezra just dropped down on that. And I've been saying this. He said Derrick James' preparation for this fight was short bus boxing IQ, no tune-up. That is the first thing that they need to go back and fix.
Yeah.
Errol Spence needs a fucking tune-up.
Agreed.
All right. He should have never fought Terence Crawford, coming off of a 16 or 18-month layoff. Should have never done that, bro. You fight Ugas in March and then come back and fight Crawford in fucking July. That's stupid. That's asinine, bro. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, and then meanwhile, Crawford fought, 6 months prior. That's asinine, bro. So he should have definitely taken a fucking tune-up. Hopefully he takes a tune-up before he goes to 154. You got any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, let me just say one thing to help everybody out, because a lot of people is going to be like, you guys don't understand why you need tune-ups, right?
Right.
Even though Terence Crawford fought a David Avedisian that we all knew he would win, the point of that tune-up is you're in training camp and you can fine-tune things to make sure everything is okay. That's the point of the training camp. Even though, okay, yeah, this is the dude that you're going to beat, is nothing, but guess what? We got to keep you sharp and keep you fine-tuned. Because if we don't keep you, it's just like a car, right? If you don't keep regular maintenance on your car, you be driving that motherfucker one day and be
that engine, like, nigga, what the hell? I need my oil clean, bro.
You gonna step on that gas? Then it comes later.
Yep.
Shit, motherfucker. So you got to keep it fine tuned. That's the point of a tune up is just to keep you fine tuned.
Yep.
And you can't, as Prodigy said, I got to give him credit for this. You can't fight someone like Terence Crawford with all the stuff in his tool chest without you at least cleaning your tools off. You at least got to clean your tools, my nigga. Got to keep them clean. And he didn't do that. So that's why he needed a tune up. And I just want to point that out, man.
Yep. Good point. All right, man. We're gonna move on to the next one, man. Jaron Boots Ennis is out here calling Terence Crawford's bluff. And we're going to show you what we mean by that, man. There's some text messages that Gilly the Kid had leaked out involving Terence Crawford and Boots Ennis. He had conversations with him. So the first one on your screen here is him talking to Bud Crawford. He said, man, you are a monster. God damn. Bud said, appreciate it. He said, you know, Boots is waiting. Now, Philly, now to give you guys some context, if you don't know, Gilly's a Philly nigga. So is Boots, right? So he's always going to be team Boots. While he's giving other guys praise, he's always going to push Boots up there. Hey, man, Boots is waiting, right? Crawford's like, y'all trying to see another dead body? And then Gilly was like, he ready. Crawford puts the laughing emojis under that, but you won't see it until the next one, right? So he puts laughing emojis under that. Gilly goes right over to Boots and screenshots this shit and said, Bud's talking crazy. Boots said that's because he got plans on moving up to 154. He acting for y'all. He a walking victim. Stay at 147 so we can get active. So Boots is basically calling Bud's bluff.
Yeah, he is.
Basically saying, nigga, you talking about you want to see a dead body, but you really don't want to fight me because you're going to 154. I ain't going to 147. Oh, I'm not going to 154. I'm staying at 147, right? Yep. That's what he's saying. So he's saying Bud is talking all this shit only to leave 147 to go to 154. What do you think about this shit, Bo? Is there any merit to what Jaron Boots Ennis is saying, man?
There's merit to it in the aspect of what's going to be taking place in the rematch with Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah.
That's where there's merit to it because Errol has made it very clear this was his last fight at 147, win or lose. He wants the rematch, and he hoping the rematch is at 154 pounds. And Terence is obliging him. Terence like, yeah, all right, man, 154 sounds good. And he knows that. He said, hey, man, he's going to fight this dude at 154. And the notion that that's typically in boxing is once you move up, there is no moving back down. Right. Once you go up, once fighters go up and they realize, oh man, I can eat. Ooh, I feel a little stronger. Ooh, this feels a little better. Oh yeah, I'm stick with this, and that's that notion. So there's merit in that aspect of with the Errol Spence rematch. It's not so much of hey, he's scared of Boots or don't want to fight him. That's not the way they some people are making it out to be. But let me just say this though, man. And maybe I'm being crude, man, but. This nigga Gully's a shit starter, dog. This nigga's a shit starter, man. Like, he up there, oh, man, he talking crazy about you, man. Oh, that's because he know he's going up. I mean, it's good because we talking about it. But at the end of the day, man, listen, me and two, if you guys don't know, go back and watch when we was in Vegas and we did this. Go back to when we was in after the fight. We said Terence Crawford needs to see Boots Ennis. Hell, before that, we said it even before that. Go back to our last show where we specifically made it clear that hey, man, the winner of that fight, they got to see Boots. They got to see him, man. That's the dude that y'all need to see. That's the dude that y'all just can't be like, all right, man. It's not like he just got there, right? It ain't like he been there. He been there, been waiting on his turn. Hell, Virgil Ortiz finally gave up on it and said, all right, man, I'm gonna fight him. I ain't gonna stand here. These niggas ain't gonna make a move over here. Right. They ain't gonna make a move my way. Right? So Terence Crawford needs to make that fight. And I mean, hopefully it gets made, but at the end of the day, man, Boots does have a point as far because he knows that he's gonna go up to 154 for Earl, but it's not a situation of he's running from Boots. It's a situation of it's a money factor. It's more money for him to rematch Earl at 154. That's an easy bag. And we know Crawford to get easy bags. Hell, ask David Avanesian, man.
Man, look, at the end of the day, I don't want to see Spence Crawford rematch. I understand his rematch clause. I know all about it. It's Three Kings boxing. You know what I'm saying? We know all about this shit. We've been covering the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, we know that the goddamn loser gets to exact the rematch. You know, the winner gets to name the weight. We already know all that. I don't care. I don't want to see a rematch. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in seeing what Errol Spence can do at 154. Listen, man, life is not about hitting a reset button. Yes, you do get second chances in life, but sometimes you don't. A second chance is not a guarantee. See, a lot of motherfuckers operate thinking that second chances in life are a guarantee. No, they're not. You realistically have one shot. That's with anything, right? Realistically, you have one shot. If you want to get something, you have one shot. In boxing, if you want to be the greatest of all time, every fight that you go into, you have one shot.
Yep.
Then you have another fight after that.
Yep.
You have one shot. Then you have another fight after that. You have one shot. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Until you retire, bro. So getting second chances is not a guarantee. Yes, that's one of those life sayings that people love to say and love to abide by and adhere by, or adhere to anyway. But that's not real 100% of the time. And in this case, I don't want it to be real. It doesn't need a second chance. Bud should stay at 147 and fight Boots Ennis. He's been waiting. I don't know how long. He's the IBF mandatory. He should get that fight next, bro. Spence should go to 154 and fight like Brian Mendoza. Real shit, not even bullshit. Should fight Brian Mendoza, right? Somebody who just is coming off of an excellent win. I know they're talking about Mendoza and Fundora rematch, but Errol Spence can fuck all that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually he can.
Brian Mendoza get more money fighting Errol Spence than he does in a rematch against Sebastian Fundora. So he can move up, just call up Brian Mendoza. That's a top level fighter right now at this point, because he just got a great win against a mandatory. Whoop his ass. Then look to get a title shot after that. Whether it's going to be Jermall Charlo, which I don't think it would be. I think Jermall Charlo goes back down to 160 after beating or losing to Canelo, either one. Yep. I think he goes back down to 160. I don't think he sticks around at 168 as an undisputed champion, right? Because his brother's there. All right. So I think he goes back to 160. I think Errol Spence is going to be left at 154, and Charlo's going to respect that and say, all right, you take over that division. I'll move up to 160. The only reason why Jermall wasn't at 160 earlier is because Jermall was there.
Yeah.
Jermall moved up to 168. Jermall had it in his mind. Hell, first of all, he had to in his mind, let me get my get back with Tony Harrison. Then after that, he was like, shit, let me just become undisputed. I'm already here. That's why he didn't move up to 160 earlier. Now that he has the green light, because his brother's not there.
Yep.
So Spence is going to be left at 154 to take over there. But Bud nobody wants to see it. Look, some people do want to see the rematch. I don't want to say nobody wants to see it. Some people do want to see the rematch. I don't see why. I don't see why, dog.
Hope.
Yeah, right. Hope that Errol Spence looks better.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have one shot. Errol Spence dropped a dud, man. Now we got to move this nigga out the way. And let's see Bud. Boots. Get over here, Boots. Like what I said yesterday, we're going to move Errol Spence out the way like bad furniture. This nigga out the way, man. No disrespect to Errol, but this is the game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You shot your shot and absolutely missed. Nigga, you didn't hit the board. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even hit the board. His shit hit the windowsill, nigga. Like throwing darts and shit. You threw the dart on the other side of the room. Nigga don't know what the fuck you was aiming at. But you sure as hell didn't hit the board. So let's move him out the way. Come on over here, Boots. You know what I'm saying? Park your recliner right here, nigga. I thought this was Spence spot. Nah, nigga, he done. This is your spot now, bro. Park your recliner right here, nigga. Right here, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need to do, boxing fans. That's what we need to see. We talking about Errol Spence for in a rematch. What for?
Man.
We need to be seeing Boots and fucking Crawford. Do I think Boots beat Crawford? No. But he's probably the closest out there that could give him a fucking match. We thought it was Errol. Realized, no, it's not. Hell, fucking Jose Benavidez did better than Errol.
Yeah, actually, you're right. He did.
So at the end of the day, it needs to be Boots. That's the guy we want. That's the guy we need. Because he's running through all these guys at 147, and people are actually thinking Boots could beat Terence Crawford. Hey, all you guys that were saying that, don't renege on that shit now. No. Stand on your own 2 feet and keep your opinion. A lot of cats out there. A lot of cats were in this chat saying Boots can beat Crawford. I remember that because I was like, no, he cannot. Right?
Yeah.
Stand on your own 2 feet. Keep that opinion, right? And let's get this Boots fight. That's what I want to see, man.
I'm with you 100%, man. 100%, man. You need to make that fight, man. That's a fight that we need to see. That's a fight that need to be made right there, man. Show and prove. It's time to show and prove. Let's see what's up. And speaking of showing and proving, as you guys already know, and shout out to everybody out there, man, that was hitting us up, sending us this video with this information. So you got a guy that called in to a radio show. He was talking about what he saw in Errol Spence Jr. and that Errol is suffering from a residual neurological damage, right? And basically he's saying this started back when he had the car accident, man. Prodigy, man. Before we dive deep into this, man, give us a little background about.
Go ahead.
I was just say, give us a little background, man, about exactly what it is that this guy is trying to say, which coincides in line with what we were saying when we was looking at Errol Spence.
Well, shit, I mean, I'm gonna let him give you the background. You know what I'm saying? I got the video right here. Shout out to BDA Boxing. Fair use, nigga, fair use. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're gonna play the video, and we're gonna break it down as the video plays. Hopefully, I don't get kicked out of this motherfucker for doing this shit. But bear with us, man. Let's go. Let's see what he's talking about.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I just wanted to kind of share, from this perspective, I've performed neurological exams on quite a few patients over my years. And when you're looking for somebody who's either had head trauma or maybe has had a stroke, even people with dementia, which is another form of neurological damage, there's certain things that you look for. And my wife, when she saw Errol Spence enter the ring, she asked me, she's like, he looks like he's on marijuana. And I told her, I said, he has residual neurological damage from his car accident. That people have commented on this, but people, if you don't have the experience doing this, you're not going to pick up on it. So one of the things when you're doing a neurological exam on somebody, you look at, there's like a glassy look to a person's eyes when they have either a concussion or they have advanced stages of dementia.
Now I'm gonna stop right there. I had the same concern. That's all I'm saying. Now, we will tell you guys our take at the end of this shit, right? When we go through this video. But I had the same concern. And this is, go back to the prediction video. That's what I'm saying, man. 3 Kings Boxing be on point. Y'all got to follow us, man. Go back to the prediction video. Me and Bo told you guys, live in Vegas, in front of the Mirage, we said we didn't like the way Spence has been looking. Like the way he looked leading up to the fight. Most people were talking about, man, when he came in the ring, he looks like he's high. I was saying that shit leading up to the fight. The fight pressers, the weigh-in, the media workouts, he looked like that, man. And I was like, why does he look like that? I chalked it up to Spence draining himself, right?
Correct.
But this guy has another opinion.
And if you compare video of Errol Spence before his accident, just do a little assessment on the eye exam of what I'm telling you. It is apparent. I mean, it is embarrassing how obvious it is that he's significantly compromised. So what I would say to this is just think back to what they did to Muhammad Ali when they let him fight with Parkinson's. People will let somebody get into the ring even though there is obvious issues.
Hold on, man. I had to stop the video. Hey, I know you don't mean no disrespect. John McCleary. He said, who's your guest, Bo? He's very knowledgeable and funny. Haven't been on here for a while, but loved watching tonight. Hey, I appreciate you, John McCleary. But I got to tell you, my man, this is my show, number one. Bo's my guest. Number two, I'm the owner of 3kingsboxing.com. Bo works for me. Bo is my dude, my right-hand man. Love him to death.
For real.
But he worked for me, brother.
I saw that and said, "Oh no!"
I had to get that real quick, dog.
When you hit that click, I said, "Oh Lord, here we go."
But no, I know you mean no disrespect, John. It ain't no.
Right.
I'm not talking shit to you, dog. I just had to get that, dog. Let's go back to the video.
issues with their ability to perform in a boxing match. So further evidence of this is listen to his speech patterns, start comparing his speech patterns before his accident to after. There is a distinct difference in his enunciation. I know part of that is because he has dentures, but even just listen to how he is formulating his words, his thought process. He's much, much slower. Now, another component to a sign of advanced neurological damage is a loss of balance. That's why as people age, primary cause of injury for older people is falls. And that's because as the nervous system degrades, the communication to the musculoskeletal system is also compromised. So a lot of the signs that people associate with aging as people get into the 30s in boxing or even sports, it's the first thing to go is your neurological system. So when people talk about timing, and if you kind of listen to what even Spence was saying, Spence doesn't even know what he's saying. He's just commenting that. He's like, oh, my timing was off. My timing was off. That is because his brain is not the same. Now, of course, you can add on to that alcohol abuse, sure. Dropping weight, water dehydration, of course. But he should have never been allowed to get into the boxing match.
Now, guys, like I said, when this is over, we're going to give you both sides of the argument, and then we're going to tell you what we really think. But what I want people to understand is, and see, the thing is with me, I have an open mind to anything. People tell me shit from both sides of the spectrum. I take it in, I process it, and then I spit out a conclusion based off of processing everything that I've gotten logically. You see what I'm saying? That's why I be telling y'all shit about, if you hear shit that I drop in some of these videos, I might say shit about the government, or I might say shit about, things that are happening behind the scenes and shit, right? I take in information, I process it logically, then spit out a conclusion. What this guy's saying in terms of, the weight drain can have an effects on the brain, right? Because your body's made out of like 88% water, right? That number is always argumentative, but it's basically mostly water. The brain is like one of the biggest muscles, or the most important muscles of your fucking body, right? It basically gives commands to every part of your body. It is actually the most important organ in your body, not the heart. The brain actually tells the heart when to pump blood, right? Tells everything to do everything in your body. If you want to wiggle your toe, your brain just told your foot to make that fucking movement. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if your brain is not getting enough water, yeah, that could happen. But this isn't just Errol Spence. This is anybody. You see what I'm saying? It's not just Errol Spence. This is anybody. UFC, boxing, any type of fighter, right?
Yeah.
Now, also, at the end of the day, the car accident was major, guys. Like I said, I'm not saying this is true, but use your common sense and open your mind. The car accident was, this nigga flipped like 4 fucking times down the road, guys. Now, just because that face right there that you see on the screen, he had a red eyeball, had some scarring on his forehead and on his cheek, and had some missing teeth, right? And his nose is a little fucked up. That don't mean underneath, dog, he's not fucked up. Mm-hmm. There's been plenty of people, like, actually, I can give you an example of me. I got in a car accident, had the steering wheel push up against my intestines. On the outside, I was good. On the inside, I had a fucking ruptured bowel, which means I had a hole in my fucking large intestine. I'm leaking bile and doo-doo and shit all in my fucking body, bro, and blood. It was major surgery that I had to have. But if you looked at me on the outside, I didn't look like anything. Like, yeah, like half the left side of my face was scraped off because of the goddamn side airbags. But outside of that, if you just saw that, you'd be like, okay, that you put some aloe vera on that shit, it'll go away. Right?
Right.
But you didn't see what was happening internally. And that was my ruptured bowel, dog, which is major surgery. Same thing could have happened to Errol Spence. That's all I'm saying. Look at both sides of the spectrum. That's all I'm saying, man.
All you have to do is look at Ugas's fight. You can see a difference in the way he moves. Now, unfortunately, from the neck down, because he's a physical specimen, he looks amazing. But from the neck up, he is not the same person. So when you look at how badly he was beaten, I can't recall another fight where Crawford looked that good. That's not an accident. When you look at Errol Spence, and how he couldn't defend himself. Even the first knockdown. The first knockdown was a blow where? It was a blow to his lower chin and to his neck. You throw somebody off their core stability, and they can't recover. He looked very clumsy last night. But once again, this is just something I don't think people want to admit because people are emotionally invested in the fight, emotionally invested in boxing. This, to me, honestly, it's very sad. It should have never been allowed to happen, but that's the history of boxing.
Well, let me ask you this. First of all, have you called in before into this show?
I'm gonna skip up because they talking some bullshit right now. Let me skip up.
The aging process. So I've taken care of many people with dementia, many people with neurological issues like ALS, multiple sclerosis, taking care of people with strokes. So because of that, over my career, I've done a lot of neurological exams, and it was so obvious to me. I'm talking within seconds. Even my wife, who's in the medical field, she picked up on it. She's like, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "He has neurological damage." I said, "My God, he should not even be in this fight." And what happens is when you dehydrate, which people are aware, you're depleting water. That's ultimately what you're doing. Because since the body is 70 to 75% water, so is the composition of muscle tissue. Now, the way people make weight, and for some people listening, I'm sure they know this already, but the goal is to try and pull as much water out of the muscle tissue. That is the only place you can really make a significant difference in weight. That's why you can drop 15 to 20 pounds in a week. But how that is accomplished is primarily by depleting the glycogen, which binds water to it. So glycogen holds water in a 1-to-3 ratio. So 1 gram of glycogen holds 3 grams of water to it. When you pull the glycogen out, water leaves the muscle tissue. Well, what also happens is you start losing electrolytes. So evidence of this is anybody's ever watched a marathon race and they've seen a runner cramp up and have to leave the race. What has happened is that they burn through the glycogen, which is stored glucose. And then once that's burned up, the water has to displace the water out of the muscle tissue. It just moves automatically.
Fellas, that's facts. I know that from bodybuilding competitions.
Yep.
That's facts. Now, what he's saying is not wrong. The determination here is this relevant to Errol Spence? And we're going to tell you that later. But what he's saying right now in terms of how that works, getting rid of water out of the muscle tissue, that's facts.
When that happens, the last thing to occur is a movement of electrolytes. So your sodium, your potassium, your magnesium. Now, this gets complicated. It has to do with water balance and electrolyte functions in the body. So that's it. The body has to do this. If it doesn't, the body will die. So when you're cutting weight on somebody, especially with somebody with neurological damage, the consequences are even worse because in the rehydration process, one of the last places to rehydrate is the brain. So when somebody like Errol Spence is cutting weight, it is going to exacerbate underlying problems that he has, which was evident last night. And I know people don't want to say this because people have been looking to this fight, but you're talking about somebody who medically should have never been. I would not have cleared him. If I was doing the medical clearance on him, I would have denied him.
I was going to ask you that. So just to recap, from your professional opinion, as a physician, you said you saw the signs of him coming out and saying, wow, he looks glassy-eyed. This man is suffering from the residual effects of head trauma. So if a doctor from the Nevada State Athletic Commission or whatever commission, whether it was in Texas or whatever, they must have seen this then, right?
Of course. But as we know throughout history, even in professional football and in boxing, there is a financial motive, and not everyone is ethical. So they will find a doctor who is ethically fluid and will sign off on this.
Guys, that's facts. It's known that doctors in a lot of sports, and there's a lot of money involved in a player taking that fucking field. And sometimes the players may have in their contract that they have to play so many games before they can get a certain amount of money guaranteed to them. The doctors would be unethical to let them play. That's facts.
Reggie Lewis.
That's facts, man. So at the end of the day, again, this may not pertain to Errol Spence, but what the doctor is saying is facts, bro. He's not saying anything to me that makes me believe, oh man, this nigga just bullshit, man. He an Errol Spence fan and he just sad. What he's saying is facts at this point.
You know,
Fluid.
there are very unethical positions.
That's a great euphemism, by the way. That's a great euphemism. Ethically fluid, not compromised, not fucking corrupt. Yeah, ethnically fluid. Yeah, guys, what do you think about what Dr. 805 just broke down here? I mean, that's a professional right there, breaking it down.
Well, the little bit that I know of stuff that I'm not an expert in, but I do know about health and nutrition based off of being a cook in the military, and we had to take nutrition training every year. He obviously said it much better than I ever could, but it goes along with the breakdowns of what we know.
On this dude, man, nigga talking about I was a cook in the military. Get this nigga out of here, man.
If I have one question for you, Doc, real quick, based off of being a boxing fan, doctor aside, do you think that Bud still would have won this fight?
Dumbass question. Let me skip up, fellas. Talking about I was a cook in the military. Do you think Bud still would have won this fight? Get out of here. Oh, we got
the best way to burn fat and get shredded is not keto, paleo, it's not carnivore, it's not vegan, and it's definitely not super intense exercises.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, Doc, and I'm not trying to take away everything you said about that. I was just trying to say, prior to the accident, do you think that obviously this had something to do with it? I'm saying, do you think that it could have? Do you think it would have been more competitive yet, or who would you have picked prior to everything that you stated?
Okay. So my response to that would be this. In athletics, you're always trying to assess the status of your opponent. And this goes back even into the world of, gambling. They're always looking to see if there's information about, does this person have an injury or is this person have a drug problem, to try and, determine how they're going to bet, to see, is the opponent compromised? Are they weak? It would be hard for me to predict because, once again, this is a hypothetical. You have to look at, Terence Crawford knew the issues with Errol Spence. This is not a secret. And there's more that people are aware of on the inside of Errol Spence's camp than the boxing community is aware of. Like, look, for example, what I just observed. Because of my experience, I could pick up on this right away. And there's more things. Like, you look at the reputation for his alcohol use. One of the reasons why there is high alcohol use amongst boxers or even football players is because the effects of alcohol, it's soothing to the brain. So think of this like the brain has a chemical storm when you have some type of trauma, whether it's CTE or what boxers have had. They used to call it punch drunk or repeat concussions. The brain actually feels better. That is why you'll also see people start beginning to use inhalants, because honestly, it takes away the pain in the brain.
Now, this is where I'm kind of lost. I get a little lost with him because he said that Terence Crawford, hypothetically, knew the issues that Errol Spence was having. That is basically saying indirectly that Terence Crawford didn't give a fuck if this nigga lived or died. Because they're talking about this dude has serious neurological issues, right? From his perspective, Errol Spence has such serious neurological issues that he should have never even been in the ring. That him as a doctor would have never cleared Errol Spence, right? So with him, by saying, quote, hypothetically, that Terence Crawford knew the issues that Errol Spence had, he's saying that Terence Crawford was like, I'll kill this nigga for undisputed. I don't think that's Terence, man. And that's kind of where I'm like, now that with these hypotheticals, you might be getting out of hand, bro.
So Terence Crawford knew this. Everyone on the inside, I mean, even boxing fans have talked about this. They know that there's something wrong with Errol Spence. And it would be a completely different Terence Crawford if you had to go back in time. So to say he would have won, I don't know. I don't know. That's because if you've ever taken care of somebody with dementia, and I'm speaking to this because, I mean, it's a very, very sad condition. And whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, it doesn't matter. the person becomes so vulnerable on such a deep level. And when I saw Errol Spence, you know, I said, this person can't defend himself fully. He doesn't have all of his resources there to protect himself. And one of the resources that I'm talking about is his judgment. He should have stopped himself, but there's reasons why, just like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali should have never allowed himself to get in the ring to fight Larry Holmes, but he did. So to say that would Terence Crawford have won back then, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that. I don't know.
Well, let me say this, man, because everything you're breaking down, Dr. 805, and this is your professional opinion. Some people are saying, well, you guys are making excuses. Well, first of all, here on the panel, we all picked Crawford to beat Spence, so there's no such thing as excuses. And the big reason why we picked Crawford, and I keep saying it, is because of the outside the ring factors. I mean, the man was in a major car accident, and it's a miracle that he didn't suffer more than some shaved skin and some teeth. But then you're saying that what we didn't see was what was going on in the brain. Now, let me ask you this too, doctor, because he was away for 16 months. Had he been away for, or something around that time, had he been out of the ring for that amount of time without the drinking, the boozing, the weed, whatever else he was doing, would that have actually helped him maybe reverse some of the effects that you're talking about?
It's conjecture on my part, but I believe that the reason he was out of the ring for so long is because of the damage. He couldn't do it. His team was protecting him, trying to stall, hoping he would come back enough. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say to Mr. BDA, to your point about him taking the drugs would have helped. No, that it's more of a masking thing. Basically, what the doc's saying, you ever hear like in Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd, just a little prick, there'll be no more, and they scream because somebody in that schizophrenic state, they're firing wrong, and the alcohol, drugs dulls it. So it's a lot of self-medication. So the doctor's 100% right. He's also right in what he said about the glycogen and whatnot. Now, let me ask you, Doc, because I found this to be, it was like they were biding the kid time. When that doctor came in to look at Spence, right? Remember when they said time out? They called the doctor up into the ring to look into his eyes. Now, if you were looking for concussion, right? If you were looking for neurological problems, wouldn't you have used a light? Like that's like 101, right? You'll take a little pen light, let it flack by his eyes.
That's a good point. Why didn't they use the light? Because I've seen that several times. Like they would shine that light, right? How many fights exactly? He would use his finger. How many times have we seen that in fights, man, when a doc comes over to a damaged fighter? Now, this doesn't mean that there's this huge conspiracy out there in the boxing world, all the judges, the referee, hell, Terence Crawford, hell, Derrick James. Everybody knows that Spence is fucked up neurologically, but everybody's like keeping it hush-hush. I'm not saying that can't happen. We got an American government that does that shit all the fucking time. All I'm saying is, right, there's really no proof that this is taking place. But he makes a good point in terms of why didn't he shine that light? I didn't see it either.
Just see if there's any response with the pupils. To me, that he didn't do that. Didn't say follow my finger. I think they were just biding the kid time. And I don't think they really cared. What's your opinion?
Could I ask your name?
Oh, Jimmy.
Could I ask
Sorry,
your name,
Jimmy.
Jimmy, you made a very astute observation. Now, as many things in life go, we miss a lot of information in real time. And this is something we could talk more about later. I would like everyone to go back and think, watch the fight again. And I pointed this out to my wife. Why did that doctor go in the ring? Nobody knew why. There was a reason why he did that. Because at that point, Errol Spence was not so debilitated that it would necessitate a doctor coming into the ring. It's because they knew ahead of time he was compromised. They were hair trigger. Why do you think the doctor went in? It was a giveaway, but the public missed it.
You're right.
Yeah, you're right.
The public missed it.
Because I've never seen that before of a doctor just
they're
going
looking
in
to make sure.
for no reason.
Hey, you ever seen a wealthy
Yeah.
person or a wealthy family or a jet owner? Like, I got a jet, I'm sorry, you know? You ever done that, seen that, and wondered?
We don't want it.
Well, I'm sorry, could you say that again? I missed that. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Doc. I didn't mean to talk
Could you
over you.
repeat that?
You
I
hit
missed
break, so I thought that was a good time
No,
to
that's
jump
okay.
in.
No, go ahead.
I've watched
I
boxing a
missed
long time. I've been watching boxing a long time, and I've never seen a doctor go in unless an eye was swollen, a cut was bad, not just to check a guy neurologically who was like in between rounds. Like he got up from the 10 count.
Correct.
It was in between rounds, and then they stopped it. And everything you're saying, like you said, we see things in lifetime, and we miss it at first, and then we go back and go, "Oh yeah, that's what happened." And that's what just happened to me right now, sitting here listening to you, because I've never seen a doctor just go in and evaluate for no reason.
That's the thing, though. If we're talking about all the wrongdoing from Las Vegas and the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the doctor's supposed to operate outside the ropes, from outside the ropes. Like, he's not supposed to step into the ring. That the last time I saw that was Pacquiao Morales 1, when the doctor stepped into the ring to check Pacquiao's cut, and even Roy Jones said, "Hey, the referee's not supposed to do
that." That's facts.
It is. I remember that. That's facts.
Facts. The doctor typically don't step in the ring in the middle of a fight. It's happened before, and it's always something where you're like, what the hell is he doing? If you know boxing, the doctor stays outside the ring from behind the ropes and assesses the fighter. Remember when Montana Love was getting his ass beat by Steve Spark? The doctor from behind the ropes was looking at Montana Love like, man, nigga, you all right? I'm just saying, not saying that this all has to do with Errol Spence and this big conspiracy about everybody knew what was going on. But what he just said right there, that's facts.
I mean, the doctor's not supposed to step into the ring. So you're absolutely right. That's another red flag right there.
Well, BDA, the only time they're allowed to do that if the ref is calling for it. If the ref calls for it. But here's the thing. We just had this recently. They stopped and everybody was all pissed about it. I forget who was fighting. And the doctor came in. If the ref wants the doctor to see you, he can't take away from your corner's time, meaning your 1 minute is with your corner. So to get an evaluation, he has to, cling the bell to start, then instantly say timeout, and then he points to the doctor. And then, because that's on his time, so it has to be during, not during that minute. So it very seldom happens unless there's been a severe beating. But that's the reason why they call it and, start the round, stop it, and have them look, because they can't take away from the corners 1 minute. I'm done.
And Jimmy made a very good point. What would the message have been if the doctor had pulled out a pen light and started doing a visual tracking exam on him? What would have people thought? Everyone would have realized there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
But if he steps into the ring and grabs the gloves and says, "How are you doing? Are you okay? You okay?" It doesn't grab your attention as much. So yes.
Now, let me ask you this: in hindsight,
well, you know that.
Dr. Red 05, in hindsight, one of the big points of contention going to this fight was, could Spence take Crawford's punch? And we were talking about the 2 times in which Spence's mouthpiece fell off. Once in the Danny Garcia fight, and then in the Ugas fight, which nearly cost him when he got hit and should have been a knockdown because the ropes held him up. In hindsight, was that one of the things that you looked at that was worrisome? Like, whoa, why is this guy looking down? Or was that just a mistake on his part?
No. You go back and you look at those 2 fights. That's why I brought those up in passing. That was a distinct change in his demeanor. Everyone has noticed it. Everyone has commented on that. But they just didn't understand what was the cause behind it. It's because his reaction time and his ability to focus and stay present is different now. So instead of, protecting yourself, how many fighters have we seen where the mouthpiece comes out and they still fight because they're protecting themselves? He literally disconnected, started looking for his mouthpiece because he was out of the moment. And that just comes down to, if you've ever worked with people with dementia, they get so easily distracted that they will literally just, in a millisecond, redirect, and they're gone somewhere else mentally. And that's what I saw with Errol Spence.
Wait a minute, I get distracted easily all the time. Don't tell me.
Bo, that sound like you, nigga. My man Bo got dementia.
Early signs of it, at least. Goddamn.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got dementia. Tell me it's ADD, man. Tell me it's
Well,
ADHD.
believe it or not, you start to exhibit signs of neurological decline by your late 20s. It's just the only reason why people don't see this more is that people tend to do the same things over and over again in their life.
Oh,
that's why a good neurological assessment to identify somebody with signs of early dementia, what they do is they perform a battery of tests that take a person out of their comfort zone. They're having them do things that they normally wouldn't do, whether it's basic arithmetic, if it's a visual spatial, and then that is how you can identify when something's wrong. That is why when you take many older people and they get hospitalized for any type of illness, you will find many cases of psychosis where they will literally become disoriented, start to exhibit signs of paranoia because they're accustomed to living in their house. The furniture. Just think of any older person you've ever known in your life, whether it's a grandmother, an aunt. You go into their home, and all of a sudden the home doesn't change. The furniture is in the same place for 20 years, and that's because the brain becomes on autopilot, and it just starts moving through life. So I know we're kind of a little off track here, but going back to Errol Spence, those are the things that I wanted to share. I appreciate you guys taking my call, and I hope it led some deeper understanding of to what we were seeing. And I know people are, waving pom-poms for Terence Crawford. I get it, but all is not as it seems.
Now, wait a minute. You didn't call from the exam room, did you? There's not a patient with you there right now, or?
No.
Okay. And by the way, no. Well, I don't know how you guys do it.
I'm working right now, but no.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about, because
did anyone have any other questions?
Well, if I may ask a question here, Spence is, I believe he smokes weed, I think as well. How about weed neurologically? A lot of people tend to think now that weed, it's just a recreational drug, it's not that bad. But can it have adverse effects on the brain?
Here are Navy SEALs 3 rules for surviving a real-world assault. Rule number 1, always fight dirty.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It will change your reaction time. There's no doubt about that. And we know that in people that are susceptible, it can induce underlying schizophrenia. So maybe you had a propensity or dispositions towards it, and there are people that, they do edibles or they smoke marijuana, and they will develop, schizophrenia. This is known.
Y'all heard that? All you weed smoking niggas out there, it'll make you dumb. It'll make you a dumb nigga talking to yourself. Y'all heard what the doc said, man. Y'all better stay off them blunts.
It's not a secret. Ooh. So when people think that marijuana has no neurological effects, it does. You're just rolling the dice. And the same is with alcohol. We all know people that can drink like a fish for 30, 40 years, and they seem pretty functional. And other people, they are severely compromised, from a little bit of alcohol. It has to do with body chemistry. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So if you don't know your body chemistry, some people are blessed with enzymes that metabolize alcohol at a very high rate, very efficiently. So therefore, for them, alcohol actually functions almost like a liquid carbohydrate. And for other people, and this is especially true for women, this is why alcohol is so much more damaging to women. They do not possess enough of an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, which allows them to metabolize and break down alcohol. This is why the effects of alcohol hit them so much harder. This is one of several things, but I'm just giving you an example.
Right. Well, that's fascinating, right?
So the marijuana, marijuana is not going to help Errol Spence, not at all.
Jeez Louise.
But of all narcotics, Doc, isn't alcohol and benzodiazepine, those are the ones that can actually kill you, actually go into seizures from it. Like cocaine, heroin, you might feel like you're going to die, but because of
all right, at this point, they over there talking about some other shit that ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. But at some point, man, I thought I was going to run into it. This dude, and I'm going to see if I can find it, man. This dude was adamant that Terence Crawford has never looked like this in any fight. Let me see if I can find
the aging process. So I've taken care of many people. She picked up on it. She's like, what's wrong with him? But the goal is to try and pull as much water out of the muscle tissue. That is the only place you can. When you look at Errol Spence and how he couldn't defend himself, even the first knockdown. The first knockdown was a blow where? It was a blow to his lower chin and to his neck. You throw somebody off their core stability, and they can't recover. He looked very clumsy last night. But get into the boxing match. All you have to do is look at Ugas's fight. You can see a difference in the way he moves. Now, unfortunately, from the neck down, because he's a physical specimen, he looks amazing. But from the neck up, he is not the same person. So when you look at how badly he was beaten, I can't recall another fight where Crawford looked that good.
I can.
That's not an accident. When you look at Errol Spence and how he couldn't defend himself, even the first knockdown.
He looked that good against Victor Postal. So I'm gonna get rid of this shit because we done with this video. But he looked that good against Victor Postal, Bo. And there's a point in the video. He's like, the doctor was challenging him. Give me another fight where he actually looked that good, motherfucker. And they were baffled. The hosts of this boxing show were baffled. They were like, oh no. One nigga said, John Molina? I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, Postal, Victor Postal. Right? Felix Diaz is another one. Exactly. Second Ezra and Ladzo. Right. But the worst one was Victor Postal. That he looked just
even fought at southpaw too.
Yeah, he didn't even dog. He fought Errol Spence the entire way southpaw. He fought Victor Postal the entire way southpaw. He never went to orthodox. But again, when you're fucking with motherfuckers that don't know boxing, now I'll give them credit. They did know some of the rules, right? I'll give them that. They're good with the logistics, the rules, the rules and regulations, right? Guy had a good understanding of that. But when you wanted to ask this motherfucker about a boxing match that took place like just 5 years ago, he had no idea.
No. He was completely lost.
Well, oh man, John Molina? I was like, oh my God. Anywho, bro. Bo, what do you think, based on everything that the doctor said? Does what he says have merit?
Yes. What he says has merit in so many factors. One factor, okay, now understand one thing. He never examined Errol Spence. He's saying based off what he saw and based off his experience as a doctor that deals with this is what he saw, right? That is no different than me and what I do. And I see somebody doing something, I say, man, based off what I saw, he's doing that wrong. Right? That's no different than that, just based off what you saw because you have the experience and all that. So let's make that clear. But here's something I want people to understand. The number one thing that me and Prodigy actually talked about that kind of stuck with us was Errol Spence in that car accident went from his career being over to, oh, he only got a couple of scratches and bruises.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that for a second. He went from, oh, Errol Spence's career might be over. He in dire straits. We don't know if he ever fight again. Oh, he just got a couple scratches and bruises. That's a hell of a turnaround. I'm sorry, y'all. That's a hell of a turnaround from one point to another. Another thing is, an accident of that measure, because I see a lot of you guys in the chat saying, why didn't he show this in this fight, in this fight, in this fight? I'm not even going to get into that because I actually said this a while back. I said, man, he hasn't probably been right since that accident. But understand, what this doctor is talking about, which is residual neurological damage, it progresses over time.
Right.
You may not see it right away. Dementia progresses over time. You may not see it right. You'll see some signs, but like, is it? And then a person gets back to being okay, like, oh, he probably just had a little slip. And that's really it. Okay? Then as far as him saying, hey, you'll get doctors to clear him. Some doctor cleared Oliver McCall to fight Lennox Lewis in a rematch. We saw that. I'll give y'all a basketball player. I think his name was Reggie Lewis. 5 doctors told this dude his heart wasn't good for him to play basketball. He found that one doctor told him they cleared him and he died in the basketball game.
Hank Gathers as well.
Yep, exactly.
At Loyola Marymount.
Yep, Hank Gathers as well. Okay? So what he is saying is this, and understand something. I will always listen to what you have to say if you can explain it in a way that he explained it. he's not trying to be on no conspiracy thing. He's calling into a show, giving his opinion based off his knowledge and experience on something and what he saw. Injuries also can play a part. Listen, man, one of the things that I do remember when I was getting out of the military and they was testing a lot of us for that post-traumatic stress. He's right about that waving the thing in your eyes, right? That light in your eyes will trigger something in your brain. Like you'll look okay. And you put that light in there. I've seen it happen. You put that light in people's eyes. I've seen guys turn violent. I've seen guys pass out. I've seen guys, lose their bodily function from that light being flashed in their eyes because it sends some type of shock through their brains. Okay. Another thing I've seen them do is where people flick the light on and off a couple of times and a person pass out. I've seen them do that. Okay. So he has a very valid point when it comes to that. The glass eye, the glossing, those are signs of someone that's suffering from some type form of function being wrong with you in your brain. Now, I'm not saying that this is what happened to Errol Spence, but I am saying this. If you look at what this guy is saying, and you do look at a lot of other things, the drinking, the smoking, all of these things add to that. Errol Spence, we said before, he never lived the boxer's lifestyle. It's not to take away from what Terence Crawford done in his performance. I don't think Terence Crawford knew about it. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt Terence Crawford knew anything about that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, because Crawford seemed like the type of dude to be like, hey, man, you need to get that check, bro. Go get that check, man.
Yeah.
Because as a matter of fact, when Earl came back from the accident, Crawford was the first one to say, I'm not fighting him until he has another fight. Man, I want to make sure he's all right.
Yep.
Right?
I'm not saying that I'm not going to definitively say that Crawford could never be a part of that. But I'm going to say, because that is a major accusation, that Crawford probably, more than likely, was not a part of some grand scheme.
Exactly.
And went in there and still beat this nigga's head up the way that he did, knowing that he had neurological damage. I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. Absolutely not, man.
No, because Crawford believes in his confidence 100%. He don't seem like the type of dude that would want you to come in not 100%.
Right.
Take away from his victory. So, no, I truly don't believe that. But you have to look at what this guy is saying. You have to listen to what he's saying because everything he's saying does explain some of the things that we saw because, like I said, I heard 2K say this all week long. Hell, I heard 2K saying it when they interviewed Earl in the back room. He was like, yo, man, what's wrong with this dude? He's like, man, what's wrong with this dude? He don't look right. And everybody was saying that. So what this doctor is talking about is things that can progress over a certain amount of time. And getting hit, drunk, smoking, and all that just actually has that progress even faster. There is some legitimacy to what he's saying. Now, whether or not it's residual neuronautical damage, that remains to be seen because the reality is Errol Spence should have been getting constantly checked after that accident. He should have constantly been getting checked after that accident. And then we saw his body start breaking down. That's when his eye got messed up and he couldn't fight Manny Pacquiao because they found he had something wrong with his eye. So you have to listen to what this doctor's saying. You have to take into account that there is some legitimacy to what he's at least saying that this could be the cause of what we have saw because that performance was just mind-blowing. But I also believe that the weight cut may have had more to do with it than anything else because the one thing he said was the last thing to rehydrate in your body with water is your brain. He's absolutely right? When you dehydrate yourself drastically, it also discombobulates you. It also gives you what I call the Bambi legs. Right, and that's what Earl looked like. Earl looked like he had the Bambi legs out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're trying to rehydrate, it also gives you the Bambi legs. He could have had a little bit of neurological issue with him, and also understand one thing: losing weight also causes neurological imbalance because you're taking water out of your brain also as well. That's not supposed to happen, to be honest with you. Right? I remember Shakur Stevens said he couldn't lose weight no more. When he tried to pee, it was orange. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Pissing out. It was that shit from his kidney, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. Losing weight like that, drastically losing weight or trying to maintain on weight, and you're not properly replenishing your body with the right nutrients and all that it needs. That can also cause a neurological imbalance, not necessarily damage, but a neurological imbalance. And then you're going out there in a high contact sport like boxing, and you're getting hit in an area that does what? That shakes your head. That also has a heavy play in it. So the doctor had some legitimate points, but I'm not solely saying that was the reason behind what we saw. I think there was other mitigating aspects of it also as well. But I don't think that takes away from Terence Crawford's performance at all. Period. It shouldn't. It shouldn't take away from his performance.
I think what destroyed the doctor's credibility was when he got on this conspiracy theorist tip. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm a nigga that's all about conspiracies, man. I got that book, Behold a Pale Horse. I got that. You know what I'm saying? I got, you know, several other books that dabble in conspiracies and, you know, theories and things of that nature throughout American history and world history, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about that. I love listening to a conspiracy and then listening to the counter argument to a conspiracy, taking it all in and trying to figure out what's the fucking truth, sitting down and actually thinking, what's the fucking truth? You know what I'm saying? To me, though, in this scenario, he should have left the conspiracy shit out and just stuck with his opinion as a doctor. Because when he was saying the things as a doctor, he was spitting nothing but fucking facts. When it comes to the neurological issues and things of that nature from fighters, when he was talking about the weight drain and the water being depleted from your body, all of those things, facts. You know what I'm saying? But then when he said Terence Crawford knew what was wrong with Errol Spence, and then he mentioned everybody else knew what was wrong with Errol Spence, that killed his argument, man. I'm gonna sit here and say, I do think there is neurological damage to Errol Spence because I've actually, like I said, I've actually been in a car accident where I had internal damage, and that internal damage stuck with me for a little while. You know what I'm saying? For at least like 4 or 5 years, man. Understand, Errol Spence's car accident was only 4 years ago, man.
Exactly.
It was 4 years ago. That's enough time for something to actually take place in his brain.
Yes, it is.
If you watch him come back against Danny Garcia, right? That was like, what, the next year? That wasn't even shit. That was about a year later, right? After the fucking accident, right? Maybe even less than that, right?
Yeah, it was.
Fights Ugas 2 years after that. Almost 2 years, about a year and a half after fucking Danny Garcia, right? So you're talking about long periods of time of inactivity, right? He may be in the gym sparring, but it's not the same thing. You got long periods of time in inactivity. You've got what happened prior to that was a seriously brutal accident where honestly everyone was like, how the fuck did this nigga only have missing teeth?
Yep.
There had to be something going on outside of missing teeth that we just don't fucking know about. Remember, they didn't even want to show a picture of Errol Spence for a long time, bro.
Yeah, no
it took
shit.
like fucking a week or two before we got the first picture of Errol Spence, right?
Yeah.
So probably longer than that because I think some of his shit was healing. So at the end of the day, bro, their accident, the way that accident took place, I would not be surprised if his fucking head was rocking around in his skull, his brain was rocking around in his skull, and had some damage from his brain hitting that skull very hard. I would not be surprised of that. But I'm not going to sit here and say that was the reason why he lost to Terence Crawford. And I'm definitely not going to say that Terence Crawford knew what the fuck was wrong with Errol Spence and went into the ring knowing that he could possibly kill this man. I'm absolutely 100% not going to co-sign that. All right. At the end of the day, what I would say, and look, Second Ezra made a good point. He's been making this point the whole time, but I couldn't get to it. He said during that layoff, what was Spence doing? Was he living the boxer's life? We all know that. No.
Yeah.
We all know he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So actually what came out during his layoffs was a video of him getting drunk. So at the end of the day, we know he wasn't living the boxer's lifestyle. We know this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, bro, guys, you can't ignore what the doctor's saying in terms of the neurological damage that could be there given the kind of car accident this nigga had, man. That would be a miraculous situation if he doesn't have any brain damage, bro. Now, somebody said it was MB 2.0. He said we may not know how much damage he really has until about 20 years from now. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It slowly
you are.
progresses. But 4 years is a lot of time for that neurological damage to start progressing. It is.
Agreed.
It's a lot of time. 4 years is a lot of time, guys. I'll say it again. And he hadn't stopped fighting. He fought 3 more times, Crawford being that third fight in those 4 years. So what I'm going to attribute more to, I think the neurological damage did have does play a role in his reaction time, his slowness, and how he looked. But I think what played a major more role than the neurological damage, because I don't think that neurological damage is at that point yet. What I think it is the dehydration, 100%. When he said, and this is where I agreed with him 100%, when he talked about dehydration and how it affects the brain, that is 100% true. Right? What does water have in it, bro? Oxygen. So what are you depriving your body of when you deplete yourself of water? Sustainable oxygen. Sure, you breathe it in and then you breathe out carbon dioxide, but the water has the oxygen that's sustainable in your body. And that's how your fucking muscles function. When you're depleting that out of your brain, you're essentially depriving your brain of the essential oxygen that it gets from the water that's in your body. So given the neurological effects that he probably could have, right, that we don't know, but he could have, put that on the table, on top of the fact that he's dehydrating himself to make weight, he's draining himself of all the water to make weight. Yeah, I think that made a fucking difference, bro. I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it in his eyes, how he looked, and I could see it how he fought. Now, 100%, this is not an excuse. No.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This is not a fucking excuse.
No, it's not.
Because he made the choice to sign on the fucking dotted line, bro.
Yes, he did.
When they talked about this and they talked about where this fight was going to take place, he signed on the fucking dotted line to fight at 147.
Yes, he did.
Derrick James agreed to it. His handlers agreed to it. Okay? So this is not an excuse. Terence Bud Crawford beat the fertilizer out this motherfucker. And there's no excuses behind why Terence Crawford was able to do that. Other than he was more prepared than Errol Spence was. On top of the fact that he dehydrated himself, he also didn't get in the ring enough. Those are the two key factors for me, dog. It's not the neurological damage that he might have. It's the fact that he dehydrated himself and didn't get in the ring in a year and 4 fucking months. Exactly. That's the problem here, guys. You got a guy like Terence Crawford who is active. He is arguably, I don't even think it's arguable, but you know, there's other guys that think other things. I've been telling y'all, Terence Crawford is the smartest active fighter in the sport today. There's nobody who is an active boxer right now that's smarter than Terence Crawford.
Yeah, you say that. Yep.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, you do.
So you dehydrated yourself. That's 1 point for Crawford. You didn't fight in a year and 4 months. That's a 2nd point for Crawford. Terence Crawford is already smarter than you. That's a 3rd point for Crawford, bro. Coming into the fight, Crawford's got a fucking a tri-star advantage, if you want to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is ridiculous. The lack of preparation, which is what Kenny Porter ironically said about Sean Porter, but this should have been said about Errol Spence, right? Lack of preparation and the requirements that he adhered to, knowing that his body couldn't take it. Those are the real reasons why Errol Spence lost to Terence Crawford. But I will say again, do I believe Errol Spence has neurological damage? Yes, I do. Because that kind of an accident, that dome was rocking back and forth, guys.
Yes, it was.
And he didn't have a fucking seatbelt on.
No, he was tossed from the car, I believe.
Yeah, he was tossed from the car. We don't know if he landed on his head or not. We don't know any of that.
No, we don't.
That dome was rocking back and forth, though. I know that. I've been in several car accidents, man. That dome was rocking back and forth. I know that. Going, 70 plus miles an hour? Yeah, that dome was rocking back and forth. we might see a problem here 10, 15 years later. We might see Meldrick Taylor, guys. We might see that from Errol Spence.
That's a good point.
And you guys are going to come back and revisit this and be like, you know what, dog? That doctor was fucking right when he said, only the parts where he said Spence may be suffering from neurological damage. Now, the whole conspiracy shit, fuck all that.
Yeah.
But the part where he's saying he's spitting medical facts about residual neurological damage and how that can take place, yo, absolutely, bro. He could 100% be suffering from that shit, bro. Because an accident like that, I don't think you just come out of that unscathed, man.
No, you don't.
But I'll reiterate, because motherfuckers probably only heard 2K say that part. Errol Spence lost to Terence Crawford because of lack of preparation and draining himself. That's what I believe, man.
Right. And I want to say this too. Earl is even out here not offering no excuses.
No, he's
Earl
not.
is out here is like, hey man, no excuses. Men don't. I come from where men don't make no excuses. So you got to give him props there.
Now, but if you let the doctor say that shit, the doctor's gonna be like, well, you know, it's a part of conspiracy because they told him not to say that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly, man. Yeah, T Mackey 83 said, excuses like a booty hole. Everybody has one, but nobody talks about how Bud was shot in the head. Well, we don't have context about how Bud was shot in the head. That's why we're not talking about it. Hell, I didn't even know Bud got shot in the head until the fucking broadcast mentioned it. But the broadcast, they fuck up all the time. I've heard that Terence Crawford didn't actually get shot in the head. The bullet grazed his head. You let the Showtime boxing analyst crew tell you this nigga got shot in the dome and the bullet went through his head and came out his forehead. They'll say some shit like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how they left it. That's why you're saying what you're saying in the chat. But from what I'm hearing, it grazed him.
Right.
So the bullet didn't actually get into his brain, bro. So, I mean, but again, we don't have context like that. Right, Lodzo is saying he got grazed. But we don't have context on how Terence Crawford got shot. We do have context, however, of how that dome was rocking from that car accident, bro. Hell yeah, dog. Bobblehead status. That dome was rocking. With no seatbelt on, that dome was rocking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dog, 100%. He like I said, and remember 2K's telling you this shit right now, bro. August 1st, 2023, I'm saying maybe 10 years from now, 15 years from now, Errol Spence may be another Meldrick Taylor. And it's not because of a beating that he took from Crawford, right? Just like Muhammad Ali's Parkinson's was not because of the beating he took from Larry Holmes.
That's a huge misconception, too.
Yeah.
People think that's from that fight, and that's not what that's from.
Yeah. Exactly. A lot of people say that. Oh man, I hate Larry Holmes because he gave Muhammad Ali Parkinson's. No, motherfucker. Yeah. He was already honestly, if you my opinion, he got Parkinson's from George Foreman. That started the shit. My opinion.
That was a startup because that beating he took to win that fight was something.
That dome was rocking.
Yeah.
Against George Foreman, man. So that's really where I think Muhammad Ali developed Parkinson's was that fight. But at the end of the day, when Errol Spence becomes Meldrick Taylor, it ain't because of the Terence Crawford beating. It's not going to be because of that. That'll be a contributing factor. But I really believe it's going to be because of this accident. I believe that, man. It'll be 10, 15 years down the line. This nigga, he's already slurring his words now. Some people were like, man, Errol Spence always talk like that, man. No, he did not. Not that bad, man. Come on, guys.
No, it's to the point sometimes I don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Nigga, it was like that the entire lead up to the fight. Like, I was listening to the shit on my phone with no headphones. I was like, when Terence was talking, I knew what that nigga said. But when Errol started talking, I had to put my headphones on. Let me put this on. Let me get rid of this.
Turn the volume up.
Yeah.
Use the caption on the screen.
Exactly, dog. I had to get that shit, dog. This nigga was Riddick Bowe status, nigga.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea what this guy was saying, man. He did not talk like that prior to fucking Sean Porter. No, he did not. Yes, he did talk country because he's from the South. He's from Texas like me. So he had a little country tone to his voice, But he wasn't just 100% incoherent. Stop. This nigga speaking gibberish, like my man Corey just said. So there's a difference between how Dallas niggas talk, right? Which is like that South Side, that South Dallas swag, and then there's gibberish. He was not speaking gibberish until after his accident, man. So he's already on that gibberish shit. I think this is going to be a Meldrick Taylor Part 2 situation, bro. I really believe that.
You know, I want to say something there because you mentioned Riddick Bowe, and he is another one that got that real bad. And that wasn't from fighting. That was from just abuse of drugs and alcohol.
Yep. James Toney got it bad right now. I have no idea what the
yeah.
fuck James Toney is saying, man.
Exactly.
And he talks fast with his gibberish.
Yeah.
Man, what the fuck did this nigga just say, man? Put that shit on rewind. Put the subtitles on, man. You know it was something nice because James Toney was nice. He was fluent with the tongue, bro. You like, man, I know this nigga gonna say something stupid, bro. What'd he say? But you want to laugh and shit, but you don't know what he says, so you got to go back and rewind this shit.
Exactly.
Like, I'm almost at that point with Errol Spence right now. And that ain't because the nigga been talking like that. Cut it out. I saw that shit on YouTube. I mean, Twitter. Man, y'all niggas, he been talking like that. Some niggas, man, niggas don't know the history. Man, shut the fuck up, man. Y'all niggas is dumb, man. Like, for real, bro. A lot of dumb niggas on. That's why I don't be on Twitter like that. I be on there looking at dumb niggas laughing, and then I get off. I don't ever comment on Twitter. That is the land of the dumb niggas. But at the end of the day, man, like I said, this could possibly be a Meldrick Taylor situation, man. We'll see what happens, man, as the years go by. Do I think Errol Spence should retire right now? No, I don't agree with Stephen A. Smith. As long as Errol Spence is able to fight, he keeps getting cleared medically, let him fight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Think he should go to 154. I still think Spence is a top fighter. I didn't put the goddamn Three Kings boxing top 10 list, but I dropped Errol Spence down to 8. He's still in the top 10. You see what I'm saying? Terence Crawford's number 1, of course, right? But I put Errol Spence from 4 to 8. Only people behind Errol Spence are Kenshiro Taraji and Teofimo Lopez. That's it. So at the end of the day, he's still a top 10 fighter in the sport of boxing. I think he should continue on as long as he's still getting medically cleared. If he's getting medically cleared, let him fight at 154 and take over 154. I think 100% he takes over that division, man.
I agree with you on that.
Take that last word.
All right, man. So check this out, man. This is what I want everybody to understand here, right? We're giving our opinion based off of what we saw, right? We're giving our opinion based off of what we saw and based off what this doctor's saying. I don't want this to take away from what Terence Crawford said, but I also want everyone to look at this with good, clear, open eyes here, because at the end of the day, this situation is very valid. Listen, boxing is already a brutal sport. And the doctor said something that I do agree when he said there are things that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to address. And he's very, very right. He's very, very correct in that. There's a lot of things in the sport of boxing. I mean, like I said, look at who cleared Oliver McCall. Evander Holyfield at one point. It's like, why is this dude still getting a license? You mentioned Meldrick Taylor. Like, why is he still getting a license? Yeah. We've seen several times in boxing. We've seen fighters fight. And you're like, yo, man, how did that guy get a license? So he's very correct with that right there, right? But at the end of the day, Errol Spence should go to 154. Hopefully, he is getting looked at. I don't think he should retire because when you look at 154, how can he not run the tables? I mean, like when I look at 154, do I think that Errol Spence, even getting beat, as long as he's mentally right, even getting beat by Terence Crawford, Errol Spence can still beat Tim Tszyu. Errol Spence can still beat Brian Mendoza.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence, hell, even honestly speaking, I even still think that the size of and because we want to talk about draining yourself. That was the reason why Brian Mendoza knocked out the tyrant in front of Fundora. He's draining himself to try to get to 154. He's too tall for it. And that's why when he got hit, he fell the way he fell. His head bounced off the canvas. He sits up as if that dude actually thought he was standing up. He's talking like he's standing up. Go back and watch that, right? So we've seen this. And I get it, man. You want to be dismissive. Nobody's sitting there saying Crawford win isn't valid. I think whether Earl has problems or not, 154, whatever, hell, 160, whatever weight that Earl feel comfortable at, Crawford still beats him.
Yep.
Okay, that's very true. But there is, when you go through a traumatic experience like he's going through, when you have a situation where, like 2K talking about, you're being bounced around, you're tossed out of the car, you should be monitored constantly to see if there's something wrong with you.
Agreed.
Right? Constantly have to be monitored. And one thing that I'm gonna take some of my man Prodigy told me off air was the injuries of Earl started to pile up also as well. Fighters suffer injuries in camp that they don't tell us about. We just found out about Ryan Garcia and his rib being broken. We found that out after Tank knocked him out, right? We found out, oh yeah, his rib was broken, right? Fighters suffer injuries. I remember Joe Smith had his jaw broken in training camp when he went into a fight with Sullivan Barrera.
Yep.
Okay, so fighters suffer injuries, guys. They don't say anything, right? They don't say anything. There might have been something wrong with Earl? Maybe there might have been something wrong with him. But at the end of the day, he signed that contract. He knew what he was in for. These guys are fighters, and we have to say all the time. He signed that contract. He knew what he was in for. The man tried to go for greatness. He tried to overcome and go for greatness, and he just tried to do it with the wrong fighter. Like, that worked with Danny Garcia. That worked with, Ugas. It didn't work with it wasn't gonna work with Terence Crawford. And somebody mentioned earlier that was the arrogance of Derrick James and Errol Spence. Yeah, I agree with that. That was arrogance. They thought, oh man, we've been doing this. It's been working. It'll work with this guy too. No, it won't. No, it won't.
Yeah.
Bad preparation on that part. 100% agree, man.
Agreed.
All right, man.
Hold on. I got it. My man T Mackey 83 said, if y'all think 154 are gonna be better, good luck. But 147, imagine 154. Gonna dig a hole and wear all black. Well, here's the thing, T Mackey 83. Errol Spence drained himself at 147, so at 154, physically he's going to feel much better. He's not, depleting himself of the essential electrolytes in the water that your body needs to function. So physically he's going to be in better shape at 154. Then also on top of that, who the fuck is at 154 that makes it so difficult than 147? I mean, what, Sebastian Fundora, fucking Erickson Lubin? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? There's nobody at 150. Brian Castano. None of these guys can beat Errol Spence. What are you talking about, bro? Jermall Charlo probably won't be there, bro. I think he's going to 160, win or lose against Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think he's going to go back down to 154. And plus, Jermell's already said, I'm not fighting Errol Spence. That's like fighting my brother. He said that.
He did say that.
So that Jermall versus Errol Spence will never happen. What will realistically happen, Errol Spence moves to 154. Jermall drops his belts at 154 and campaigns at 160, which is also a pretty wide open division. All you got there is Janabek. You know what I'm saying? Right, Lodzo. Jesus Ramos. Like, who's going to put a beating on Errol Spence at 154?
Abel Ramos is his uncle. Like, yeah. Agreed.
So, I think he has a better chance at 154 than he does draining his body of the essential nutrients and electrolytes to stay at 147. And I think he dominates 154. I really do, man. I think this is a one-off with Terence Crawford. It may be a two-off if there's a rematch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think Terence Crawford is, once the Errol Spence chapter is closed, I think he's done.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Once we get rid of this Crawford shit, and tell Errol Spence, hey man, step to the side. You know what I'm saying? You had your shot, bro. It's over with, man. Neurological issues aside, you got beat the fuck up. Now go ahead and move up. You know what I'm saying? And let's not revisit this Terence Crawford shit no more. It's over with, man. But once we get past that, I think Errol Spence does an excellent job being a 2-division champion, possibly undisputed at 154, man. Hold on. My man Lazo. Hey, man, why don't you stop disrespecting Arthur Beater B? First of all, it's not Arthur, nigga. It's Arthur. Then you put B-E-T-E. You had 5 letters left, nigga. R-B-I-E-V. You couldn't remember that? So disrespectful ass nigga, man. That's some Haitians for you, man. Shout out to them Haitians, man. Go ahead, man. What did he say next? He said Virgil Ortiz versus Spence is the money fight at 154. What do you think about that, Bo?
I don't know if it's so-called the money fight, but it's actually a good fight. But first of all, we need to see Virgil Ortiz fight before we can before I even say that. I think it's a good fight I think it's a good. I don't know about a money fight, and I guess if I look at, I think the money fight is Tim Tszyu because of Australia. That would be the money fight if I was have to say it. You could fight Tim Tszyu in Australia, he'd get a huge bag. But I think Virgil Ortiz would be like, that's a fight that I would look for him as if he's going to go to 154. That would be a good comeback fight because Virgil Ortiz is no pushover. And being at 154, Virgil Ortiz would be better. He himself would be better and stronger. So yeah, I definitely think that's a fight I would. You can put that on pay-per-view. I buy that.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. I wouldn't put Spence in that fight for his next fight. You know, they learned the hard way doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, fight. I wasn't even gonna laugh, man. That's fucked up, bro.
I just realized what you said.
Like, they learned the hard way, man. You can't do that shit with everybody. Once you get the kind of performance you got against Crawford, now you might want to dial it back, even if it is just Virgil Ortiz. You might want to dial that shit back. Virgil Ortiz knocked everybody out he's faced.
That's very true.
You might want to dial that shit back, bro.
That's very true.
So go in there, fight fucking, I don't know, Brian Mendoza. What's that boy name? I forgot his name, man. Damn, I forgot his name. Bryant Perella. Fight him. I don't even know if he's at 154. But if he is, just fight that nigga.
Rematch Ocampo. He at 154 now.
Yeah, Carlos Ocampo. Yeah, right. He at 154. Fight him. Then maybe even fight somebody else even after that.
Yeah.
2 fights. Then, maybe Virgil Ortiz at 154, dog.
Right.
He's back. He's more comfortable. He's acclimated with the weight. The knockouts behind him. Confidence is back. He might have an opportunity to beat Virgil Ortiz now. He probably could beat him now, but I wouldn't gamble on that after this Terence Crawford fight. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but yeah, I do think it's a good fight at 154. Having that, I'm gonna take one more. Just had this shit, man. Well, Second Ezra said, when should Spence come back? When do you think the best timetable for Spence to come back is? He's talking about the end of this year, man. Do you think that's a good timetable?
No, I think that's a bad timetable. You got a beating like that, you have to let yourself heal from completely, 100%.
Yeah.
That's a beating. Like, when you take beatings like that, even if you're mentally okay, right? Even if you're mentally okay and you're not bothered by it, you still have to allow your body, because you drained it so hard to lose weight, you got to allow your body to fully and completely repair itself. The problem is, so it's because what is this, July? Okay, let's say he takes off August, he takes off September, then he starts training what? October, November, December? That's not enough time. 2 months is not enough time for your body to heal from a beating like that, man. I'm just telling you all that. Especially if what we're saying, what this doctor is saying may be true. No, man, you need take the rest of the year off, stay in shape, take the rest of the year off, start in January, and then look to come back February, March, April, or something like that. But yeah, he shouldn't fight for the rest of this year, man.
Yeah, I think now this would be a good time for him to take a fucking layoff. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't want him to get rusty again, try to go out there and fight somebody else that's a high caliber fighter. I think coming back, so this fight took place in July. I think coming back maybe February, I don't see a problem with that. At 154. In the meantime, between now and January, he's gaining the weight. He's in the gym. He's taking it light the first couple of months. Then he gets, he ramps up his workouts the last couple of months, and then whatever training camp he enters into, if he does decide to fight in February. You see what I'm saying? But right now, what's important is that he gets his weight back. He gets comfortable, being a 154 pounder, right? And he takes it light on the head in terms of his sparring and his training regimen. But I think coming back in February against a lower tier ranked fighter, I keep mentioning Brian Mendoza. I think that's an excellent fight for him at 154. I really do. He just had a good win against Sebastian Fundora. It would suck if he fights Sebastian Fundora in a rematch and then loses. Well, then, that would suck. Yeah. You need him now because it would give credibility when he wins against Brian Mendoza. And trying to make that fight for February, I think that would be a good fight for him, man.
I agree 100%, man.
All right, man. Y'all know what it is. Go to 3kingsboxing.com for your source of pure and adulterated boxing information. Hit us up on Twitter at 3kingsboxing, Instagram at 3kingsboxing, Facebook.com/3kingsboxing, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that hit the PayPal. Shout out to a couple cats, my man Beast LFC that hit the YouTube with the donation, man. Definitely appreciate that, fellas and ladies. Also, go to this boxing channel on YouTube, man. Prodigy of Boxing Talk, man. We're going to be going live. This is going to be the time, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. That's 6 o'clock Pacific. We're going to be going live. Anytime we go live, it'll more than likely be at that time. We might throw some little ones at you where we go live during the day or something to talk about something important. But for the most part, look for us at that time, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. All right. Once again, appreciate everybody in the chat. Until the next one, we out.